Everything homemade!
Hi everyone, I'm Rita Peterson with Everything Homemade, and this is a much requested video. When I introduced that I was pregnant, I asked for suggestions, ideas that you guys want to hear, and this one is very close to topping the charts. Without further ado, I am actually going to start my pregnancy videos with this big one, and it's nutrition. Okay, so many of you asked for about nutrition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do nutrition before you're pregnant, nutrition as you're pregnant, and the nutrition for postpartum. So all the way through. So this is going to be a longer video because I'm going to dive in depth. So if you want to pause me and grab a cup of coffee, grab a tea, grab a snack, sit down and make yourself comfortable, and now is the time to do it. You can also go grab a piece of paper and pencil, as I am going to cover a lot of information here. I even have a piece of paper here to keep, because there's so much information and there's so much I want to share, just to keep myself remembering some real key points. So first of all, in order for my subscribers that have been following me for the last 3 years, and for the new subscribers, I am going to dive into a little bit of history that most of you don't know about. And pregnancy can be a very touchy subject for so many women. There's so many times women have lost babies, so many times that, you know, there's troubles with fertility, and this topic can be really, really sensitive. And it is a sensitive topic in the begin with me also. I mean, so I'm going to start where I learned all this nutrition, how I taught myself it, because my past really influences who I am today. And so let's start there. So I got married when I was 21. My husband, it was 27, so we have 6 years apart. And when I was 16, I never really had a constant period. It was like 2 days and, you know, maybe 6 months in between. It was never ever constant. So my parents took me into the doctor to see, hey, you know, what's kind of going on, because this isn't quite normal. And they found that when I ovulated, the eggs didn't actually form. So it was like a half an egg in layman's terms. So it wasn't even forming properly, and they basically said, hey, you know what, she's probably never gonna have kids. And I kind of just accepted that. I mean, after graduation, I decided, hey, you know what, I want to be a doctor. I had plans to go into be a neurosurgeon, either that, or I was gonna cut the opposite way and become a veterinarian, as I love animals. And so that was my pursuit. So I went and made sure my marks were high enough to get into any college or university and keep all my doors open. Well, when I entered university, I kind of changed gears a little bit, and that's a whole nother video in itself. But basically, in a nutshell, I ended up moving to a big city called Calgary, Alberta. And at that point, I actually became a professional dog groomer. And so I did a lot of show dogs. I did a lot of grooming there. And eventually, make a long story short, met my husband. So in all of this, I always had issues with my period. And I went to the gynecologist, even myself, as I got older, going, hey, is there anything I can do? And all they say was, here, take some birth control, it'll straighten it out. And I was not about to take birth control. That was not in the cards. I'm not going to drug myself to fix a problem. And when I want to find the root, there's always a root. and fixing that root will fix many other things. But at the same time, just like so many young women, I mean, I was teased heavily in school. I was, called many names. I had problems, thinking I was a little bit too fat because I kept on getting teased. I had bad varicose veins, and at age 6, I already had a varicose vein started. So I was teased heavily there. I never, behind my knee, never wore any basically shorts to school shorter than my knees. Was uncomfortable because I got teased. Got bullied because I like animals, and just never ever fit into any kind of crowd. I was always kind of left out, and so it really emotionally had a horrible impact on me. Now, bullying is bad, even worse today, but when I switched schools and I was in my teenage years, so around, I don't know, 16, 17, and 18, I was in a public system, and I basically, the bullying didn't change because I was in a small school. It just got worse. I mean, they teased you on your weight. They teased me on my hair colors. I mean, they made fun of my name. I mean, anything they could point out, and I basically was like, whatever. It's not going to change. And so I dived into many other activities. So I thought, hey, you know what? If you're going to tease me, you might as well make fun of the stuff that I'm doing. And I enjoy it, so I don't really care. Say what you want to say. I go home after. And so that was kind of my attitude. But, having this strong front at school, trying so they don't bully me even more, you go home and it just rips you apart because you have to face it every single day. So that didn't help with the stress of my body. Definitely. And then, trying to make sure that I wasn't fat or, fit in somehow really paid a toll on the food coming in. Even though my parents, fed us really good, everything just out of balance. And so moving out, going to the city, I still really didn't fit in. I mean, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't party, I don't do any of those. Even going to a church, I really felt like I was on, the sidelines, just never really fit in with the groups at church. So I was really alone. And so again, didn't help. And so you start having, I had kind of like an identity crisis, sort of speaking, because I looked myself in the mirror going, well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I fit in? Why don't I, why don't people like me? And it's just because, one, my personality is very strong. I go, 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 go. I get things done. And most of the time, learning and watching, people are exhausted and they don't know how I do it. And so a lot of people don't like that. They just like to call me, hey, how do you do this? But to actually spend time and get really close, it's really, really hard. The other thing is I love gardening. I love all these things. And I was just at animals, and I just wasn't in the right area or the right group of people. So I met my husband and we got married, and I still had issues and still didn't know how to correct it. I mean, we wanted kids, but I wasn't about to drug myself. So basically, I think it was 4 months after we got married, John went to work and I was still sleeping. I woke up a couple hours later, and I've never felt so much pain in my life besides childbirth. Okay. So I was laying there, complete pain. I could not get up. Like, you could not say, hey, just try to get up. Just get up. That was impossible. I literally rolled off the bed, hit the floor, and kind of pushed myself across the floor to reach the phone. And at that time, I didn't have a cell phone. Okay. So reaching across, trying to get a hold of my husband, which I ended up doing, which he came from work and rushed me to the hospital, is that through a whole bunch of tests, I actually had an ovarian cyst that ruptured. So absolute pain. Absolute pain. And so I was rushed into emergency surgery to fix that. But what I didn't know at that time was that I was pregnant with our first child. So I'm in the hospital. They're running a whole bunch of tests. Of course, they ask you, well, is there any possibility that you can be pregnant? And of course, I have to say yes, because there could be a possibility. Very slim in my case, but it's always a possibility. So they run blood tests before they do anything. And in this case, it came up positive. So I'm lying there in agonizing pain. I just find out that I'm pregnant. And the joy that filled me was absolute. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. There's no words. I mean, from telling year after year after year, you can't. And now you are. But at the same time, now I have a risk because they need to do surgery. I have an ovarian cyst that ruptured. I got fluid all over inside of me. They need to go in and clean it up. The risk is losing the baby. So I ended up going to surgery, and I come out of surgery. Within 24 hours, I was in the hospital. They released me because everything looked good. Blood tests show still pregnant. Anyway, go home. I remember lying in bed, actually kind of more like sitting up in bed, and I just start hemorrhaging, basically bleeding everywhere. Husband takes me back to the hospital. They rush me back into emergency surgery. They do a DNC because I lost the baby. And so within 48 hours, 2 emergency surgeries, and I lose the baby. And to top it all off, it was my birthday. So pretty traumatic for me, and it took a while to recoup. It took me about 5 weeks to get back up walking and just getting myself back together. So that is kind of where this all stems from. And at that point, losing that baby, sorry, I'm kind of tearing up here, but losing that baby was the catalyst to everything. Okay, so I told myself there's got to be somehow, somewhere, anything that I can do to become pregnant again and not lose the baby, not have an ovarian cyst that ruptures. There's got to be something I can change. So, Jordan Rubin had just come out with his book, The Maker's Diet, at that time. So I started reading that, and I really started searching the Bible. And so I started really looking at the Bible and going, what did they eat? What was their diet? What kind of food? So I started making a list. I started making a list of kosher meats. I started just diving in biblically, not listening to the news, not listening to any scientists, not listening to anybody else, but a solid foundation, the Bible. And then I took Jordan Rubin's book and some of the things that are explained in there and his life story, and started putting one and one together. And it made a lot of sense. So I asked my husband, I go, hon, I'm going to completely clean up my system, my body. And I want to start with Jordan Rubin because it's the most, it's easy, it's simple, it's not, you don't have to buy stuff a lot, it's not ridiculous, it's cleaning yourself up, and start a whole brand new diet, and start a biblical diet. So meats, carbohydrates, dairy, not leaving something out, not just eating the egg whites, but eating the whole egg, like the whole thing. Nutrition that God gave us. So that's where I started. So I was on this journey, and 7 months later, I believe it was, I got pregnant with Orion, and he's my first son. And from then, I've never had any problem getting pregnant. And in fact, the joke kind of is, you know, John even has to look at me, I'll be pregnant. And it's kind of funny because of how it all started, which wasn't like that. So I just started realizing how important nutrition is for the body, and how society has made that, hey, girls need to be this certain weight. And you look at the magazines and they got really skinny thighs and really skinny bellies, and everything's small, and then they have these huge breasts, and you know, this image of this perfect, and many guys look at this and women look at it and go, oh, this is how you know we should look. But in actual fact, if you go 100 years or more now and you look at the women back then, I mean, they got larger hips, they got larger thighs, and I started to think, you know what? What's wrong with us today? Women can't or very infertile nowadays. I mean, I think it's as one is at a high of 1 in 4 or something like that are actually have problems conceiving. That is staggering. And so what is it? And a lot of it is nutrition. A lot of it is taking birth control, and the side effects to birth control is fertility. It's a lot of side effects to a lot of drugs is fertility. So so many people are taking so many drugs, and the side effect is fertility. So between nutrition and that, and then everything else, when we talk about pollution and all that kind of stuff, it does really, really hurt our bodies. But nutrition is huge. So what I found out, even after reading another book by Winston, I believe it's Winston Price. He wrote it in 1930 or 1929, 1930s. He went all over to the cultures, and he found that before the Western society went into those cultures, their diet, no matter whether it was the Eskimos, the Indians, somebody living in the rainforest, whatever their diet is, the one factor was that it was really, really high in meats, in healthy grains. It was a balanced diet. There was no white sugar and white flour and all this stuff in it. And he found out, because he was a dentist, that as soon as those tribes changed their diet and went into Western food, that their teeth and their mouth, the next generation was actually smaller, their teeth were more crammed, and their actual body structure changed just because of diet, and they started having many more health issues. So when you're pregnant, before you get pregnant, some really important things to keep in mind. You want a healthy, balanced diet. We're talking meats, okay? And I'm talking white meat, and I'm talking red meats. I'm talking many people, if you're looking in society, even eat liver. Liver is so beneficial for a woman's body. Meat is, proper weight gain is. Today's society, women are way too skinny. We have this way too skinny or obese. We don't have this nice happy medium. Women naturally are supposed to have a little bit larger thighs and a little more weight on them than men do, because we give birth, we carry child, and we breastfeed, and that takes energy, that takes fat storage to do, and it's actually really healthy to have a little bit of extra weight on you. And men and women, believe it or not, are different and created differently in body structure, and we need to really embrace that. And so if you're way too skinny, you can actually, your periods won't happen because there's not enough fat to support your periods. And if you don't have enough fat in your body to support your periods, you will, if you do get them, they'll be painful. You'll have cramping, you'll get headaches. If you do have it, if you have a little more weight, on you a healthy amount of weight. Your periods come naturally. There's less pain, but your body can actually support it. Okay, so remember that. And that was part of my problem too, is that I needed to increase my weight so I have proper periods, so my body can actually make that egg, can actually, you know, have my body work and function properly. And you need fat to do that. Okay, so you want carbohydrates. You need to eat a balanced diet. You need your veggies, you need some fresh fruits and vegetables. You need to have protein. We have a lot of society is low carb. Now they're pushing keto diet, which is high protein. How about biblical? Check the Bible, look into biblical diet. They had cheese and they had tons of kosher meats. They ate bread. They had fruits and vegetables. I mean, they had a very variety of diet. And you know what? My rule of thumb is if God made it, it's good to eat. Now, with kosher meats, scientifically, pork is not clean to eat, and whether it is a biblical or a scientific study, they both come together to say that pork is unhealthy to eat for many reasons, and you can go on the internet and find that out. But I don't eat pork. One, scientifically, two, kosher, but God created the egg. We eat the whole egg. God created pomegranates and figs and honey and milk. He created us to be creative by taking the milk and make the cheese. I mean, they ate cheese in the Bible all the time. So God created us to use the raw product and create something that is healthy. It's when we rip things apart and manufacture it in a big way like white sugar that is unhealthy for us. So I look at things, God created it for meats as long as kosher, but for everything else, fruits and vegetables, we embrace it, we eat it, and we love it. So our diet has a lot of variety, and that is very important. The other thing is some vitamin supplements before you get pregnant are your B vitamins. Most women are low in B vitamins. We have a lot of stress, and if you're heavily stressed, you're going to be low on B vitamins. Folic acid is a necessary, so I would look for something like this. This is, I take Garden of Life because it's very clean vitamin that I can find around here. And it's a raw B complex, a high potency whole food B complex. I take a few of these a day, and they really help. The other thing is I take vitamin C. Vitamin C with a mix of bioflavonoids is very good for health and for your immune system. Because I have bad varicose veins. Remember I said I already had them by 6. Well, through every pregnancy, they get worse, and that's a big deal with me, is my legs. So I take Raw Q10 for leg health too. So I gear the vitamins towards my own body. So magnesium is also a very important one. I usually take magnesium with us because we eat a lot of dairy, just to make sure that our magnesium levels are in the proper form ratio between calcium and magnesium. The other thing, so look at your body. I mean, some people are low in iron, some people are low in zinc, some people in iodine. So look at your body, tailor the vitamins that you need, but keep in mind B vitamins, vitamin C, are highly important. Calcium, magnesium, if you want to grab a vitamin with that, or even a really good multivitamin, be very careful on them because you want to make sure that there's no extra fillers on them. So those are some vitamins I do take before you get pregnant and during pregnancy. So these ones, the B vitamins I take during pregnancy, the vitamin C, the coenzyme Q10, magnesium I take during pregnancy. especially the last 2 trimesters, because if you don't got enough magnesium, you lay down in bed and you get the worst Charlie horses you'll ever experience. It's a magnesium deficiency, so if you start that, you know that you are short on magnesium. Go get some magnesium and problem solved. So that's another indication. So before you get pregnant, up your nutrition. Make sure you got strong nutrition. If you don't have proper periods, you know your nutrition is off. If you're always tired and fatigued, get that checked out. But a lot of it comes down to improper nutrition. So boost everything, eat some meat, have a good carbohydrates, have your fruits and vegetables, okay? So that's really, really important. So let's say now you're pregnant, like I am. I am 3.5, 4 months pregnant, right around there. And so right now I'm past that 3 months. And what really helped me through those morning sickness and stuff are the B vitamins. If I slack on the B vitamins, my morning sickness comes with a vengeance. And it's the vitamin B6. And you can look at that up on the internet. Doctors actually prescribe a drug that has vitamin B6 in for morning sickness. It's the morning sickness drug that they prescribe. But it's just vitamin B6. So go and get a full spectrum vitamin B vitamins, and it'll be a lot easier on your system. Now, I'm not saying it'll take it all away, but it will definitely alleviate a lot of the symptoms. The other thing is with morning sickness, let's just talk about the first trimester, because that's really tough on a lot of women, including myself. You wake up in the morning and it feels like you're going to throw up. I walk down the stairs, and the first thing I do not drink water. If I go and drink water, I'm going to literally throw it all up, because it hits my stomach. It's rock bottom. I'm just going to make myself ill. I literally make sure that there's cheese, that there's bread, that there's coconut oil, that there's honey around. I literally make sure that there's a slice of bread waiting for me in the morning. I put some coconut oil on it, sometimes a little bit of honey. I take a slice of a thick, like, I'm not talking little tiny piece of cheese. I'm talking like my full length of cheese, nice and thick, big slice, cut it up. Put that slice on top of it. Yes, that's coconut oil, honey, and cheese. I think it tastes good. And I put that on a piece of bread, and I eat that. 1, instant carbohydrates. 2, instant fat with the coconut oil. And 3, instant fat and healthy carbohydrates from my cheese. So once I've eaten that sandwich in the morning, or that piece of bread with the toppings on top, it instantly gives my belly something. I need substance. And you'll talk to some other pregnant women, they have nuts right beside their bed, or some people have crackers right beside their bed. I just go downstairs and I literally use the washroom, make myself something to eat instantly. I don't do anything else besides settling my stomach. Then after that, piece of bread and cheese and stuff is eaten. I'll sometimes grab a piece of fruit to eat. I literally have, like, I wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, even when I'm pregnant, okay? So I basically have a pre-breakfast, and then I have breakfast again with the kids because it's about 3 or 4 hours later. So I eat that. A lot of times I'll have a 2-cup, we're not talking just a little bit, I'll have a 2-cup bowl of yogurt. After I just eaten my piece of bread with cheese and stuff on it. And in the yogurt, it's homemade yogurt. I'll have, berries in it yet, and I'll eat that. And then I drink 2 cups of water with a vitamin C and a B vitamin. And that is how I start my morning every morning. Now, if I don't have cheese and I don't have, my bread right on hand, then I'll have yogurt with banana and a piece of cheese or something else, or a protein from supper before. My word, I've waken up down the stairs and eaten a piece of chicken, okay, in the fridge, whatever. Anything that's protein with carbohydrates, if you walk down and just like, oh, I don't, want to gain weight and I just want to eat a little bit, so I'll grab a piece of fruit. Fruit, it has substance, okay, but your body is calling for protein and carbohydrates. You are making a baby, and that takes work. It drains your system. It's pulling every nutrient and minerals out of your body, and your body is literally screaming at you for food. And so if you eat fruit, an apple, an orange, for example, you eat it and it's like drinking a glass of water. There's not much in there. It's not filling. It doesn't stick to the ribs. You know that saying. And so when I start my morning with something like basically a breakfast, instantly I feel so much better. Okay? And when you, especially in that first trimester, I eat constantly. I mean, I eat that coconut oil sandwich with cheese, then I have yogurt, then I go outside, I milk the cow, I do all the chores outside, then I come in, wake my husband up for work, get his breakfast going, get the kids up. I start getting their breakfast going. I eat 2 eggs in the morning with another piece of bread. And then on top of that, I have more yogurt with my kids yet, which is another cup of yogurt. So am I counting calories? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Breakfast, that's crazy saying, most important meal of the day, is absolutely right. I mean, if I give myself body enough fuel in the morning, I eat a tremendous amount of food, and then comes lunch, I have, my Orion sometimes beats me for lunch. I have, whatever I have for lunch, a lot of times is leftover or soup that I've made, a nice big bowl of soup. And then for supper, I eat whatever I can. With this pregnancy, it's been really hard because the evenings I get really, really sick. That's kind of dissipating a bit now. But it seems like this pregnancy, I have a lot of acid in my belly in the evening. And I'm not going to take any medication. So what I've been doing is I have supper. A couple hours later is usually when this heavy acid kicks in. And it's very painful. And so I make what I call a mood drink. Now, you're probably laughing. Okay, what is a mood drink? And this is what I did with Orion, actually, as like a nightcap for me to go to sleep, because it has a lot of magnesium and calcium in for my legs. So a mood drink is 1 cup of milk, 1 banana, and 1 raw egg. Now, caution with eggs. I have farm fresh eggs. I know exactly where they're from. There's no cracks in the shell. There's no chance of salmonella. So I would never do this with store-bought eggs. If you get eggs from somebody else, just never ever use a cracked egg. But I caution you never to do this on go to Costco and buy eggs, go to grocery store, buy eggs, whether they're organic or not. If you raise your own, come from, and it's much safer. Okay, so I've been eating raw eggs for like 13 years. So it's, again, milk, banana, and an egg. And so in the evening now, and even right now, at around 7, 8 o'clock, I'll take 1 cup of milk with a banana and an egg, and I will blend it up real quick, and I will sit on the couch with the kids, and I'll start sipping it. What it does is dairy actually neutralizes the acid in your belly naturally. So, and the banana gives that magnesium and potassium I need to go to sleep, mixed with the calcium in the milk, mixed with the protein of the egg, literally gives me a night before night drink that will nurture, or not nurture, I can't think of the name. Anyway, it will just literally give my body enough nutrients. That's what I'm looking for. Nutrients in my body to go to sleep. Then when I wake up, I'm not feeling as sick. I go and eat my stuff, and there's never this long starvation period. And it definitely really helps, and it nourishes my body, and it nourishes the baby growing inside of me, because that baby, you got to remember, inside of you is a little human being. It needs everything that you need, just in a smaller amount. But it's developing everything, and so it needs energy. You need energy as a mom too. And so I make a mood drink, and that's what the kids and I nicknamed it. I make myself a mood drink every single evening, and especially right now to neutralize that acid in my body naturally. You could do it with yogurt if you want. You could do it with kefir if you want. And so that's really important for your first trimester, to really make sure to eat constantly, to eat a little bit. So never go from lunch to supper in a 5-hour span of no drinking, no eating. Make sure that if you're eating fruit, mix it with some kind of protein. Nuts and seeds are good. If you feel that sickening feel, you eat an apple and you feel like, oh my goodness, I am literally going to throw up here, I'm sick, grab some protein. The apple isn't enough. Your body needs something more. Don't be scared to eat some carbohydrates. Now, I'm not talking about grabbing a bag of chips. That's not the carbohydrates I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a chocolate bar. I'm not talking about a can of soda. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about real, proper nutrition, and that's what your body is craving. I'm not saying you can't ever eat a chocolate bar, okay? But make sure that 98% of your diet is wholesome, good food. And if, I agree, I disagree with soda. Sodas are very dangerous for the body, but that's another discussion. But if you want, you're at a friend's place and they're having snacks, go right ahead. But again, as long as the bulk of your nutrition is healthy, your baby will grow healthy, you as a mom will feel better and have the energy to keep up with things. And that's where a lot of my energy comes from. I mean, I have my good days and I have my bad days, but a lot of times I can, from the first 2.5 months of the pregnancy being really, really difficult, I'm starting to get my second wind. And, being able to smell things and not try, the other thing with pregnancy, oh my goodness, smelling food, cooking drives me nuts. Like, I couldn't even hardly make soup. The kids were making breakfast just to make sure that I ate, because if I smelled eggs cooking, or meat, so that's another challenge while you're pregnant. And I mean, I didn't have 5 older kids through all those. I'm very fortunate I do now, but there's times where I would go downstairs, just force myself. Nutrition is important. No matter how I feel, I gotta eat. So I really, really, really stress that, and I'm sorry if I repeat myself again, but it is highly important for a pregnant woman to take in enough calories to support herself and the baby and to keep going. It is so important. Stop counting calories. Stop looking at low carb diets or high protein diets. Have just a lifestyle of healthy eating. And I can't stress that anymore than what I am, and that is the key to a healthy body. So, okay, well, so I'm heading into the 2nd and 3rd trimester. You just keep it going, vitamins, and you keep everything going. The other thing that is really important is boosting your medium chain fatty acids. What is that? Okay, let's put this in layman terms. Coconut oil is a medium chain fatty acid, and I'm talking about extra virgin coconut oil. Some say virgin coconut oil. And what that does is research has come, and they actually looked really heavily into the Philippines, where there naturally is coconut, and they found how great the immune systems of the babies were in the Philippines. Why? Medium chain fatty acids. Your breast milk, if it's really high medium chain fatty acids and you're breastfeeding, you pass that on to your baby, and that baby, it's like giving them immune support. It literally supports their immune system. It just boosts their nutrition. Their whole body can fight viruses and colds and everything so much easier. So our diet is already high in coconut oil, but when I am pregnant, I make sure that if I eat a toast, if I eat, remember that sandwich in the morning? Well, I put a tablespoon of coconut oil on that sandwich, okay? my husband bugs me because I call it sandwich, doesn't have a lid. But anyway, on that toast or bread, I put a tablespoon on it. And what that does, they say between 1 to 2 tablespoons a day, your breast milk will be very, very high in medium chain fatty acids, and it'll keep in your body, and it really gives the babies a heads up, like an awesome start. And all my kids have had minimal colds. I think Ocean had one cold that was really, really bad, but we made it through. No drugs, no anything. None of my kids have ever been rushed to the hospital for a bad lung infection, sore throat, colds. Even today, Orion's turning 11. That's 11 years, and all the other kids, if you support their immune system from right off the bat, coconut oil is absolutely amazing. Now, what's interesting is that when Orion was born, he was born at 8 pounds. And he, you know, looked like any normal baby, healthy, happy. And then I started breastfeeding him, and his growth and growth went astronomically off the charts. And they look at me, they're like, well, what are you doing? And you're such a small person. I mean, I really fill out in the front when I'm engorged with milk. But other than that, I am a small person. It's just the way God made me. And they're like, well, are you feeding him anything than breast milk? I said, no, I'm just feeding him every 3 hours breast milk. And they said, no way he could be growing that fast just on breast milk. And so I'm like, well, that's the way he's growing. I mean, he doesn't have diabetes. He doesn't have anything like that. And so I was actually talking to a midwife, 10 years ago now. And she asked me, what am I eating? What am I doing? And I told her our diet and what we're doing. And she goes, yeah, that's pretty normal. I mean, he's a roly-poly baby, healthy, happy, and he'll stretch out, and look at him now. You'll never notice that he was. And she goes, well, your breast milk is just really, really rich. It has everything it needs to support a really healthy baby. And I mean, not to compare myself to a moo cow or a milking cow, but if you milk and you feed your cows really healthy stuff, they've got better cream, they got wonderful color in their milk and in their cream, and that's the same thing that goes with us. I mean, we produce milk too, and if we feed our bodies an incredibly healthy diet, that's going to reflect in our milk. And our milk and the cream, because when the baby first drinks and you latch on, the baby latches on, it gets what they call the first milk. And the first milk is fast. It comes out. Like, I mean, if that baby unlatches, you'll have milk spraying everywhere. And it's a very fast milk. So what it does, it quenches the baby's thirst. It's more watery. And the babies go suck, 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 and drink it really fast. And what's important is to get the hind milk. The hind milk is the cream. And so what happens is your body naturally changes. So the baby's sitting here and it's sucking away, and then it starts to slow down and then kind of goes and takes these long slurps, and it's working that milk out, which is actually the cream. And the cream is what helps build the baby's bones and fattens it up a bit, because it needs that fat, believe it or not, for the bones to grow, for healthy. Fat is so important. And when you got that fat, the kids grow properly, and it's that hind milk. So you got to leave that baby on to get that hind milk, because if they just take the quick milk, they're not getting all the nutrition they need. Key point there. So that's highly important with coconut oil. On the topic of coconut oil, I use it for my belly. So about now that my belly is growing, it's not quite noticeable. I can still kind of hide it, but give it a couple months and you'll definitely see it. Is that I lay in bed and I get my husband, because, hey, it's so much nicer when somebody else does it. And I can do it myself. You can do it yourself. But my husband, there's some coconut oil sitting beside my bed, and he grabs a tablespoon in his hand, and he kind of rubs it in his hand, and then he rubs it all over my belly. And what that does, it seeps into my skin because medium chain fatty acids is the same oil that's on your skin. And so what it does is penetrates my belly, which is good, but it also makes my skin nice and soft. So as the baby grows and my skin stretches, it helps prevent stretch marks. I have very little stretch marks, and it really helps the skin be flexible. So he smears all this coconut oil. I mean, he smears it on my chest too, because I get a lot of pain when I fill up with milk, and it just really keeps my skin nice. Just really basically lathers myself in coconut oil every night, especially starting in the middle of the second trimester to the third trimester where things are growing. So that's important note there. The other thing that I can say is really important while you're pregnant is if you have never got your feet checked out, it might be worthwhile to go to a podiatrist. A podiatrist is a foot and ankle doctor, also known as a foot and ankle surgeon. And what I found out that I wish I knew, I wish somebody told me before I was pregnant that when you're pregnant, estrogen gets released. Now, estrogen is the female hormone. It literally, the side effect of estrogen is everything goes loose. Your veins go loose, your whole body goes loose because your body has to adjust this baby. Your hips got to be able to move. Everything's got to be, able to loosen up to deliver this baby. But the side effect to that is when, say these are your feet, okay? When you have your baby in your belly, your feet sometimes shift this way or they shift this way, compensating for that extra weight that you're carrying. And that's really hard on your feet. So I got pregnant with Orion, which was hard on my body. Then I got pregnant 3 months after giving birth to him. Got pregnant with Ocean. A year and a half later, actually no, less than a year and a half later, I got pregnant with Nova. Again, less than a year and a half later, got pregnant with Grace. 2 years later, I got pregnant with Annika. And now 4.5 years later, I am pregnant with my 6th. So that's a lot of draining on the system, but a lot of issues with the feet. And by the time Annika was born, what I didn't realize, this is my baby toe on my foot, the nerve right here, because of the shifting of the feet, when I'm pregnant and when I'm not pregnant, this nerve actually got pushed into my bone and seized into it. So I was actually having nerve issues. I went to the chiropractor. He couldn't do anything. I went to other doctors, and it just so happened that I ended up working for a podiatrist 2 years ago. I got a phone call going, hey, you want to have a job every 3 weeks with a doctor and a surgeon that comes from a big city. He needs somebody to help him out in the office all the time and with his patients. So I was like, hey, I'm in town at that time. Why not? And I learned so much, and I realized, I said, hey, to this doctor, I said, you know what? I may have an actual real foot issue that nobody can diagnose me with. Anyway, he looked at my feet and he said, my word, if you were working in my clinic, how do you even walk? So he spent the next year freeing that nerve from the bone, getting my feet in proper position, and I now wish somebody told me to go to a podiatrist, make sure your feet are in good shape, proper position. Do not wear Crocs or flip-flops while you're pregnant, no matter, yes, they're comfortable. They have zero support. My kids will never put on a pair of Crocs or flip-flops for a long term because they do not support proper growth of the feet. And the people that came in with foot issues, going from not walking to just fixing the feet and the issues with the whole body is unbelievable. And now I'm in orthotics. I have zero feet issues. All my nerves are correct. And I actually just finished seeing the doctor again to make sure my feet are in proper position for this pregnancy. So I'm not actually hurting myself with the shifting, and my body's in proper posture. And if you don't know what orthotics is, this is my shoe here, my inside shoes that I wear all the time. It just pops out of your shoe. and it's an insert. Now mine have a up here. Now you can't probably really see that, but mine here push my nerve up in my foot so it never ever falls. And these orthotics, they go between any footwear possible, but make sure you have a really good footwear while you're pregnant. It is a lifesaver. Highly important. The other thing is to talk about herbs. There are a lot of herbs. There are a lot of supplements. There are a lot of essential oils out there. Not everything is good for pregnancy. And how do you know? Do some research. Get some herb books. Double check. I can eat tons of cinnamon. I have eaten cinnamon all my life. I can take up to a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon a day. I know that sounds crazy, but I love cinnamon with no side effect. But there are women that eat cinnamon and have a miscarriage. There are women that take in peppermint and have a miscarriage. I can drink peppermint, have no problem. It's really hard for me to lose a baby on herbs, but on lots of women, they are way more sensitive than me. I caution with peppermint. I caution with lavender essential oils, stuff like that. Do your research that the essential oil you're using is safe for pregnancy. Some really good herbs to take is stinging nettle and red raspberry leaves. I really start intaking this in the summer, just because I have them growing right out of my door. If you don't, you go to the health food store, but really in the late second trimester to all the way through the third trimester, it really gets the uterus and the body ready and prepped for labor. It also just adds that nutrition into your body. If you look up stinging nettle, it will blow you away what is in there. This stuff grows rampant around our house. So in June, when it's time to harvest, I'll be drinking stinging nettle like a fish, sort of speaking. Red raspberry leaf, those two, if anything, pick one or pick both. I like doing stinging nettle, red raspberry leaf. They're kind of bland teas, not growth, just don't got much flavor. I add just like a pinch of peppermint, or even 1 leaf of peppermint, just to give it a little flavor. But I caution, if you can't tolerate it, don't take it. You can add rose hips to it. Add a flavor that is safe for you. That's something very important during pregnancy. You can take this from first trimester and on. I just have a hard time drinking that tea in the first trimester. So something to think about. Let's see here. What else is on my list? Talked about stretch marks. Okay, so that's kind of throughout pregnancy. Let's talk about after you give birth. Okay, so I still keep with the same vitamins because my system is drained. Now I don't sleep for, some nights it's every three hours I gotta breastfeed. Sometimes every 2.5. Sometimes it's once an hour if they're going through a growth spurt. And sometimes they're crying halfway through the night and I get 0 sleep at all. Believe it or not, my husband can sleep through all of this in the same room. The kid could be screaming and he's there snoring away and I'm up all night. I laugh at him because I don't even worry about keeping the lights off. If I need the lights on, doesn't matter, my husband's sleeping. He just sleeps that sound. So my stress level definitely does not decrease. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm still nourishing my body, nourishing my breast milk. The other thing is keep taking the coconut oil. I a lot of times, women complain if the baby latches on. You kind of feel like a raw piece, like just so raw. If that's the case, one, the baby's either not latched on properly, because it's really important that you get the breast at the top and their tongue. I can't do that. That roll. I can't roll my tongue, but that roll literally starts, that suction happens, and it's important that they get a full grip of your nipple, okay? If they don't, they're going to make it raw. So latch position is highly important, and if they are latching on, sometimes being a new mom in the first couple weeks, your breasts aren't used to that, and what you can do is literally put coconut oil on your on your breasts everywhere. Get them to latch on, and it feels a whole lot better because it's that coconut oil will make things a lot softer and heals things, and it's safe for baby. Okay, so a lot of times that's a little trick you can do. If it's a horrible latch, sometimes there actually is something wrong with their tongue. That's occasional. Get that checked out. Otherwise, some babies just are really good latchers. Some babies take some practice. And being a new mom, you know, and you can kind of guide them. Make sure you hold their head. Make sure you hold your breast. Make sure, you know, you work with the baby to try to make sure they get a really good latch. So coconut oil is for so much stuff. So that's important. The other thing is 2 herbs never to take when you're breastfeeding: sage and parsley. Sage and parsley will dry up your breast milk. So if you want to dry up your breast milk, you eat lots of it. But be aware of pizza sauces. Be aware of going out and eating and they put parsley and sage and things. It is horrible for your breast milk, and it is an excellent herb to dry up your breast milk, but you do not want to intake it while you are breastfeeding. And that even goes for farm animals. Don't feed them parsley and sage when they are lactating, okay? Awful herbs to take, you know, just complete warning there. Another big discussion comes with women. You know, you just give birth, and let's say you gained 20 pounds. Let's say you gained 50 pounds. Let's say, you know, you look yourself in the mirror and all you see is your breast filled with milk. You know, your jeans are too tight. You have this flop belly because you just gave birth. Nothing has went back. Now you got extra weight on you. You literally feel like, you look in the mirror, it's like, I am just overweight. I feel awful. And that's when postpartum depression kicks in. You have to look at yourself going, I just gave birth. This pregnancy was hard. That's okay. Guess what? God made breastfeeding for a very awesome reason also. While you breastfeed, think about this. You are literally using up calories that you've gained. Okay? So when I tell women, I said, don't worry about going to the gym. Don't worry about over-exercising. Don't worry about stressing yourself right out. What you need to do is embrace yourself. In 6 months or so, if you're eating properly and taking a proper nutrition, that weight will come off naturally. Because if you go out and you just gave birth, let's say 5 weeks after, and you go, no, I got to hit the gym. I've got to do this, do that. I've got to whip my body into shape. I've got to, you know, make myself look good after. What you're doing is stressing your body out, and your breast milk decreases, and your baby suffers. Then your baby's not sleeping properly. You're cranky because the weight's not coming off fast enough. You're hungry because you don't want to eat so much, and therefore you're not taking in the proper fuel that your body needs. And so what happens is a vicious cycle of kind of starvation where your body wants, but you won't give. And so if you don't give it any, then you got breast milk problems and feeding problems. And sad to say, a lot of people then have to go on formula. There's so many other reasons to go on formula, but that's one. And then you get frustrated because your breast milk's not coming in. Then you think something's wrong. At the end, just stop. Breathe. Pregnancy is hard. Keeping your weight perfect is hard enough. Keeping up with society's image is impossible. Skip it. Relax. Enjoy the baby in your arms. Embrace your baby. Love it. Care for it. Care for the other kids you have if you have other kids. Love your husband. And when you have that joy, that love, your body will naturally start to lose weight. If you're eating healthy, you're breastfeeding, you're going to use those calories that you have, that extra fat. And if you gained a little bit too much, take a breather. It'll come off in time. You're breastfeeding, you need almost 800 calories more to support your breast milk. Just your breast milk itself to come in. So if you don't take enough calories in, your breast milk suffers, completely suffers. Even within 24 hours, you can notice a difference if you don't take enough calories in. Oatmeal, carbohydrates, proteins, vegetables, constant eating again. You are lactating and you need that energy, the proper nutrition to support that living being. And this is highly important. I have repeated this to over 100, women that ask me, how do you feed your children? What do you feed? How do you keep yourself going? And it comes right down to nutrition. And nutrition is so huge. Not starving your body is so huge. Have that piece of bread, have that oatmeal, have that yogurt, have that piece of meat. I mean, once in a while I have cake, or I go out to my mom's and she makes homemade cookies and I eat 3 of them or 4 of them because they're so good, and I just don't have time in my house, my kids. So it's not like I don't have desserts, but it's not every day, okay? And I'm, you know, I don't even worry about how much carbohydrates I take in. What I worry about is that I have proper nutrition and that my belly is full and that my body is fed and that my baby is fed. That is the key to it. And if my breast milk is coming in fully every single time, the baby gets fed every 2.5, 3 hours, and its belly is full, bam, that is the key to it. And because your baby's happy, you're happy, and that extra weight, or that baby weight that everyone calls, will come off, and your body will naturally, you know, strengthen, and you will go out to do your daily activities, and you will completely recover from having that baby healthy. That is important, and it's about not stressing your body out. So looking over my piece of paper, I think I've covered a lot of highlights here, a lot of information, and I really, really hope that this helps incredibly to so many people out there looking for advice on pregnancy. If you have more of a specific question, let me know. But that is nutrition in a nutshell, probably as fast as I can tell you. And again, any questions, I will answer. I try to answer every question that comes into YouTube in the comments for me. You can also go to About on my YouTube channel, and you can even give me a private message if you don't want to do a public message on there. There is a link there that you can do that. So I thank you, everyone, and I really, really, for those that want to get pregnant, for those that are pregnant, for those are in postpartum, congratulations on your pregnancy, congratulations on your new baby that was born, and I pray for those that want to get pregnant. It is the most beautiful, most biggest blessing you will ever experience, is holding your own child. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next video.